a prepared introduction, then I just want to share a few other words. Marty is a former furniture maker who inherited an old family farm and decided to return to farming, but in a new sustainable way. And so he was really creative in trying to listen to customers, whether they were chefs or restaurants or whoever they might be, and see what they needed, and then try to produce unique products for them. So he produces ramps, heritage grains, pawpaws, a number of unusual things. And that would be amazing enough, but he also has created a community of other farmers near where he lives, and he's kind of knit them together in a farmer to farmer and marketing and delivery service. So essentially, there's over 60 farms in central Illinois that through Marty and his service are able to offer their products and the shipping to different customers, institutions, people, which is really a beautiful thing. And so he's really kind of knit this community together. I met Marty when, because he appeared in the documentary called Sustainable. I'd highly recommend it. It's very interesting, very inspiring. And we happened to have him for a panel discussion, and then he was kind enough to come and visit with our staff the next morning. And he just created a different kind of spirit in that room. It was sort of like, just like this kind of generous spirit, calm spirit, kind of hopeful spirit. And I think that's a lot of what you bring to this, Marty, and we're really grateful. And if you could take it away.
Thanks, Nathan. That was awesome, really awesome. Thank you. And part of what I want to share with you is just a continuation of that. I shared with Nathan earlier that I have this attitude of trying to understand before being understood and to lead with gratitude. And so all of you sharing your dreams, your visions, your passion, your struggles, that helps me. I've got lots of notes here. And so that really helps me to understand where you are on this journey of taking care of stewarding the land and stewarding us as a community. I have the amazing fortune to still participate in farming. Our 160-acre farm here in central Illinois. In another 9 years, it'll be in our family for 200 years. My granddaughter is the 9th generation she's 3 years old, and she does all the egg collecting every day. Her dad, Will, is teaching her already how to steer the truck to do chores at night. She sat on my lap one Saturday and said, "Papa, I can do it." And she did. She managed the truck all the way out to the pasture and didn't hit a fence or anything. So I feel like I'm going to be all right, you know. So that's our farm, and it's 160 acres. It's woodland. It's recreated prairie. We provide about 50 acres of alfalfa hay for Kilgus Farmstead for all their dairy. We also have numerous varieties of heritage wheats, rye, 4 or 5 different varieties of corn, a dozen different varieties of peppers from all over the world. And now we are cultivating these 60 other farms. Some of them as small as 1/10 of an acre up to 100 acres. We have an immense amount of product that we have been doing this for about 17 years, doing the collaborating and really taking the competitiveness away from our farms. They don't have to compete at farmers markets. They still can, but now there's this cooperative, collaborative attitude. And that's been really, really great. So we've been doing this for some while. Then and we all make plans like good farmers should, right? And try to understand what we all were going to do this coming year. what we needed to produce. We had met with all of our chefs, and we probably, so like last year, we delivered about 120 tons of product. We deliver 50 out of 52 weeks. We take Christmas and New Year's off, not because we need to, but because we need to. We have to have, you know, there needs to be a break somewhere. But, you know, so we meet with all of our chefs. We probably have 60 to 70 some restaurants. We've probably turned down that many restaurants in the last year because we don't have the capacity. We don't need to be big, we just need to be really great at what we do. So we're pretty picky about who we deal with. We have a rule at the farm that we're only going to work with nice people. And we really, it sounds really junior high, but we really do, we treasure that rule. So we had met with a lot of our chefs in January and tried to make a plan. And so many of our chefs, you know, give us a list of things that they want for the coming year. My son Will and I had really been trying to watch the news and all these things, and we've always asked these what if questions. What if something we couldn't take to restaurants, or what if this, or what if that? So I was asking a number of our chefs, really high profile chefs, what if this COVID thing, or this coronavirus thing becomes an issue? How are you all going to navigate that? They were all in denial. They all pretty much said, oh, it really won't get that bad. I came home and I said to Will, we need to plan now what we're going to do if and when this comes to pass. So mid-March happens, and the week before the shutdown, we had 35 restaurants. The next week we had 3. We had farmers freaking out, let alone the chefs, but the farmers were calling and saying, hey, what do we do? Do you want us to not order chickens? Do you want us to not plant product? Do you want us to just not do whatever? And I said, no, keep going. It's our job to figure this out, and we will. We basically did a Facebook post and offered those folks in the Chicago area and downstate the same list of products that we offered to all of our chefs. And we created 150 customers in that same week. We only had 3 restaurants. And we have cultivated that. There was 200 folks that signed up, another 200 that signed up on a backup list, and another 200 folks on the C list. We basically created a whole new paradigm in 1 week. Going forward, big change only happens when we realize what we're doing isn't going to work and probably isn't going to work in the future, right? But it also, big change comes when we understand and have a vision toward what we want it to look like. And then work our way backward from that point and fill in the foundation from the point of where we want the vision to be, and then fill in all those pieces to make that happen, to make that a reality. And so that's what we did. We had to basically create new ordering systems, new payment systems, new distribution systems, new systems for all of our farmers that come to the farm with their product. Instead of having 50-pound crates, we now had to have 51-pound packages. So our farmers became stressed over the idea of being a packaging company instead of a farming company. So then we had to also pivot very quickly to understand how can we take that and make it easier. It was also extremely surreal and weird to pull up. We had 3 different drop-off sites in the city. but we'd pull up in the alley of these restaurants and have 60, 70 people in line, a food line down the block and around the corner to get their product, their groceries out of the back of our truck each week. And we had chefs like Jason Hamill or Stephanie Izard or Chris Pandell or Tony Quatero or, you know, the executive chef from Google, all of them standing in the same line as everybody else waiting for their groceries. That was humbling for everybody. It was weird, and it made us then think about, how are we going to make this better? Because they're all not going to continue to do this all the way through November and December, right? So we partnered with Matt Wexler, who is the filmmaker for Sustainable. Matt is a week away from opening a drop-off and curbside pickup in Evanston. And we have partnered with a couple other chefs in the city, and basically those folks have taken all of the bulk product, divvied it into the individual orders, and as people order online, they can choose a pickup spot, and still we're able to move all this product. Some of our restaurants are starting to come back, but I can share with you that it's scary. It's very scary for them. But through all of this, last week was still our highest sales week ever in 17 years.
Wow.
Since the shutdown, we have not dipped below. We have set a record nearly every week since mid-March. It takes an incredible amount of effort and drive and, you know, just diligence to make this happen on everyone's part. But the community wants this. Our customers are thrilled. And this is something that we have worked hard at making it an outstanding premier experience for everybody. And I guess that's part of my message to all of you as farmers. You need to think of yourselves not just as farmers, but part of what Christine was saying, that farmers are really the only ones in our society and most societies that can prevent disease. We have the power to do that with knowledge, understanding, and good practices. Doctors treat disease. We have the opportunity through our practices to prevent it. And so we have, there's a million things. I'm trying to keep it concise and so that it's understandable, but I'm sorry. There's something as farmers that we have discovered that is super, super helpful in understanding plant health, human health, soil health, profits, and providing amazing product. As farmers begin to understand some of the concepts put out by John Kemp on advancingecoag.com. John's been to our farm. We've done numerous projects together, and the information that he is sharing is pivotal and super important for every farm. And if you all want to follow up and ask questions about that later, we can do that. But that's huge. If you're looking for more information, Acres convinced me to write a book a year ago, and it's on their website, on their bookstore. It's called My Farmer, My Customer. And it kind of gives you kind of the behind the scenes things and talks more about what we do, how we do it, and why we do it. But it's kind of a field guide kind of a thing. Linda, add a F beyond John Kemp.
Yeah.
So all of this is to say that the COVID experience is an opportunity. It's a huge, huge opportunity. And we're taking our model, and I'm putting a team together that actually will have international repercussions. I'm friends with the trade minister for the European Union. He's a former customer of mine when I built furniture. He's been to our farm, and we actually are putting together a training piece to go to the EU at whatever point, and it may become a virtual thing like this. But we are also putting together a training, a certificate training for farmers to understand regenerative practices and everything from plant health to equipment to seed saving to grafting to all these things, livestock and pasturing. And then we're wanting to be able to create pods or models throughout the country that have these cooperative groups that we can work with cooperatively to have a brand, and it's the same brand. And so that consumers will know when it's this brand, that they know that that is regenerative ag, that it's quality, consistent, and it doesn't matter if it's in the South, the West, Maine, wherever, but it treats people with dignity. And then there's a distribution model. We're working with a couple different distribution companies, but also with chefs around the country and around the world to potentially be that avenue for customers to be able to access farm products. And finally, there's also a social equity piece that we're building into it, so that when all of this happened, we also had all these 200 and some customers of ours who each week would put in an extra $20 to $200 that we could use to purchase more local farm product and donate to the Boys and Girls Club on the South Side that was destroyed, had their neighborhood grocery stores destroyed. So that we're taking care of communities. We're taking care of and creating that model to be replicated everywhere. We can't feed everybody, but we can do what we can do. And that's the message that I want to share with each of you. You don't have to feel like you're on an island by yourself. We are connected. Everything is connected to everything, and everything goes somewhere. And it's important that we lean on each other. This community that you all have created is remarkable, and leading with that vulnerability that each of you are asking for. I need this or I need that. That's huge. And I just want to applaud you. I want to encourage you. I want to be the cheerleader for you. And we're here for you as support in any way that we can. And it's not that I want to help you, but I want to serve you. And that's our attitude that we go through every day, every week. And it's treated us pretty well so far. So you do have questions, and I'm happy to take those. A couple of you asked about our list, and I'm happy to share that with Nathan. And actually, tomorrow night, our list comes out every Friday night, and I'm happy to share that with Nathan, and you all can distribute that. if that's helpful at all.
Got it.
All right. Any questions? There's
Yeah.
nothing off the table, okay?
I'm not sure about this. I'm not sure if that's a good thing to say, Marty, but so if anyone wants to jump in, either by chat or even wants to start speaking, let's just make this as open a discussion as possible. Anybody?
I got a question. Anna, you're waving.
Hey, Marty, this is Cliff.
Hey, Mike.
Question, as you guys see the restaurant business start opening up again, what's that going to do to your model? Are you guys going to still be able to supply food for the consumers? Do you guys have enough capacity?
We do have capacity. It is quite incredible the amount of capacity that we still have at this point. And we as farmers have made a commitment as a whole group that we will figure a way to make this continue. We basically have taken all of those 150, 200 customers. They're able to order online through what's called, and that website is the retail online portal is villagefarmstand.com. They can order online there, and then all of that product is just dropped off. So for instance, though, we're also supplying product to the Central Illinois Food Bank, and this week they took 1,000 pounds of carrots. We had more than that, so that was great. We're working with, in any given week, we're probably feeding somewhere north of 2,000 or 3,000 people, 2,000 or 3,000 families. So it's become a large operation in that just how we have to think about and deal with it. But systems are important, and everybody is playing by the rules, and they're keeping safe. All of our farmers wear masks and gloves when they come to the farm. We do the same when we deliver. So we're supporting our chefs. Our chefs are going to come back easy and slow, but it's a balancing act, and we're trying to do our best with it, Cliff.
Good.
Great question. Thank you. Anybody else?
I got a question.
Sure.
Yeah, Mike.
Hi. I was just curious, like for someone like me, who's just starting out in my second or third month, and I am raising meat protein, so it's different. But at what point would you even consider working with restaurants, or what advice would you have for someone starting out? At what point would it make sense to even work with restaurants or anything like that?
You need to think about things like capacity. Restaurants want consistent product every week, and it depends on the scale of the restaurant, right? Some of them will go through an enormous amount of product. There's a relatively small restaurant that'll go through 100 pounds of cabbage a week, and they need cabbage every week. So how do we do that? Chickens. We've got a restaurant that'll go through several dozen fryers every week. They're frozen, but how do we handle that? And do you have that capacity? Or do you have something that is so amazing that they want to use as a special only? So there's multiple ways of accessing that, but work hard on making your product stand out, making it the best you can. Research restaurants that you're interested in. Go eat there when you can, when it's safe to do that again. Research what they have online as far as are they interested in local products? Look at their menus, their price points. Understand that chefs typically have a 30% food cost, which means if you're charging $3 for it, they're going to charge $9. So it has to be affordable, but it also has to be really outstanding. Does that help a little bit, Mike?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.
Of course, of course.
We have a question from Sharon. Marty, you are in Central Illinois now. Do you see this effort expanding in other areas of Illinois anytime soon?
I think so. So I've been consulting for groups around the country. I helped the state of South Dakota set up a group of 70 farmers over the course of a year and a half. Actually, the state of South Dakota hired me to consult for them and do, on in-person trainings and farm visits and all of that. There is a huge opportunity here for these kinds of groups. Do not think that just because, and we're 2 hours from Chicago, we're 2 hours south. So don't think that we have all this wrapped up. There are so many chefs, there are so many people. The people in South Dakota kept saying to me, "Oh yeah, but you've got Chicago." And I said, "Who do you know that doesn't eat? Tell me, please." And so it's really important that not any one of our farms can do everything to every chef or even everything for one restaurant. So, it's everything from chicken, turkey, pork, eggs, honey, maple syrup, grains, flours, cornmeals, all the vegetables, all the cheese, all the sunflower oil. It's a huge list. Somebody asked about certification. So many of our farms are organic certified, but we all sign an agreement that that's how we will grow without chemicals. Many or most have GAP certification and have gone through a FSMA training. We require each farm to have at least $2 million worth of product liability. And there's ways that we can work around that with other legal structures to help that happen. There's a lot of infrastructure here. Nathan, go ahead.
Do you have a name? I think what Sherry's also getting at is, do you have a name for your sort of
Sure.
farmer network and the regenerative aspect to it?
Yep. So on the SpenceFarm.com website, there is a page called Down at the Farms, and that's our business. It's Down at the Farms LLC. You probably will find very, very little out there. You might find more than I think, but we've really tried to keep it. We don't do any advertising. We do very little social media. We don't need to, and I'm really trying to meter out the demand that we get. But it is an LLC structure. Will and I are the principal partners in that, and the farmers basically joined by, we kind of vet our farmers, but also, by geographic and by the product that we're really short on, say.
Got it.
What else?
Marty, real quick, I thought you had mentioned a training you were developing that includes.
Yeah.
Does that have a name yet?
Yeah, so there's a couple pieces to this. Sherry, in the last couple years on our farm, and we actually did it this past year at the end of June, on our website, thespencefarm.com, there's a 2-day intensive training called Down to Earth.
Okay.
And we've had people from all over North America attend that, and we really pretty much blow everybody's head up.
Mhm.
It's really intense, and we just pack as much as we can into that and try to help train folks to move forward and give them the tools to do that.
Thank you.
Of course.
Excellent. Anybody else?
Yeah, I have a question. Marty, your example of COVID-19 hitting and the what if, that you had a premonition to think it through. What about climate change and how that's affecting everybody, especially when you go to Europe? We're going to see more population movements, and we're going to see more stress on everything. Have you got some beginning stories or examples about the what ifs about climate change and food production?
Sure. So Sandra, when my friend Garrett, who's from Brussels, came and brought his family, his 2 kids are college age, and they are laser focused about this climate issue.
Mm-hmm.
And here in the States, many of us are, but in Europe, it's way serious there. So utilizing our practices, utilizing a lot of our foliar feeds with advancing eco-ag, we can, even growing a crop, we can sequester more carbon than we could ever think about doing by growing a highly immune, support that immune system of that crop. And it's going to put so much more carbon and nutrients back into that soil than what we could ever do even with great cover cropping. So we're really trying to pass that information to each of our farmers. We've actually been able to see on one of our vegetable fields where we started 10 years ago with about a 3.2 organic matter when it came out of conventional. We're now at 6.8 in about 10 years. So I know that this can be done, and we continue to work with each of our farms, and there's ways to do it. And I'm excited that we as farmers could actually be the change that needs to happen, but it needs to happen sooner than later.
Excellent. Maybe one more question. Anyone else have any more questions for Marty? Anyone?
I'll ask one. What is the gold standard on organic matter in soil?
Ooh, that's a good one. I think we're approaching where it works for us in our soil. I think that's going to be different around the country, actually. But if we could get ours to between 7 and 9, I would be really thrilled. There's you get the ability for those plants not to be stressed during high rain events or in low rain times too, in drought periods. You have a huge amount of soil biology going on, which actually allows nutrient uptake in a much better way. So, it's going to really depend on building that soil to whatever level that you can. And I think, Scott, one of the other tenets I always say is that practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes progress. So I just feel like we all just need to keep practicing to do better and to be observant. It's super important for each of us to come to understand what is happening with our land, in our plants, our animals, and just be observant, because each of those are trying to tell us something, and we only know what they're trying to tell when we are observant, and when we look at it, we can only understand when we know what we're looking at.
Just follow-up question. What are the units of measure on organic matter? When you say 7, what does that mean?
Part of it is, I mean, a lot of us will do soil testing, and I like to do our soil test in the fall. I want to understand, after we've grown a crop and we've taken whatever, you know, the whole season, whatever it takes out, I still want to understand at that point what we still have available in that soil. And then, you know, it's not just looking at one thing. Very few things are one thing determined. And I think as we become aware that we are part, even us as individuals, part of an ecosystem, then we look at our soil as an ecosystem. Our soil becomes like our digestive system, and the biology in our gut, you know, the soil is the gut. And all of that, the biology in the soil is so important.
But do you know if it's like grams per liter or parts per million, or when you say 7?
It's going to be, it'll be parts per million. Yeah. Yeah, I can share some stuff with you online too, if we need to.
We're just
Okay.
curious, yeah.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you, Marty.
Marty, I think we're going to draw this to a close, but
Yep.
you're just having you speak just feels like it was just the right thing to have, because of not just the collaborative nature of what you're doing with these 60 plus farms, and the fact that it's spreading, and the fact that even during this pandemic, when there's so much disruption and grim news, there's also opportunity to sort of do something different and change our world, and you're doing it. So we're really grateful for that hope and for that model, and hope we can learn more from you. And it just so happens that we're going to be sending out a survey to everyone tomorrow with the email that includes all this information that all of our speakers are sharing. And to encourage participation, we're going to have a random drawing, and there'll be 5 prizes, and the 5 prizes will be 5 copies of your book. So,
Oh, wow.
So I
Cool.
think I think people will enjoy reading that as well. So Marty, thank you again. Really so
Thank you
grateful
all.
for what you're doing. Thank you.
I don't know if you clapped during Zoom or not. Yeah, there you go, Kevin. I like that.
So
Be well, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much, Marty. Take care.